chemistry, C3, chemistry. Everywhere motherfuckers you'll see chemistry. Lyricalize enterprise and the chemistry team with Eastern Connect from the CLP chemistry. Mon message court est clair à cause à chemistry sont pour ou pas. De chatting à Irish, qu'est-ce que tu peux faire?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear students, here is your new topic regarding polymers and its properties, polymer properties and characteristics. First of all, contents, introduction. हम discuss करेंगे properties, molecular weight determination, ये skip करेंगे vibrational spectroscopy, X-ray diffraction, mechanical and radiological analysis, and all these. This is basically revision topic. Polymers mean many parts. Use of polymer in drug delivery is guided by various properties, just like molecular properties. And characteristics is the basically process of determining the size. हम size उससे जो है वो consider करते हैं. Structure and physical properties, just like thermal and the mechanical properties of polymeric materials. What is the crystalline and the amorphous polymers? If the structure is linear, polymer chains can pack together in the regular ways, just like propylene chains. With increasing the temperature, crystal cells starts to melt, and while polymer mass suddenly melts at a certain temperature. Amorphous structure is formed due to the either rapid cooling of a polymer melt in which crystallization is prevented. What is the crystalline and amorphous polymer? Crystalline are ordered, amorphous random, semi-crystalline and consist of both. What is the crystalline and amorphous polymers detail या characteristics? Polymer strength and stiffness increase होती है crystallinity के साथ. Increase in crystallinity, optical properties of a polymer change होती हैं. Crystallinity increase होती है barrier properties of polymer के साथ. Crystallinity and the topography and the isomerism and the molecular weight, intermolecular forces and the rate of cooling and anisotropy. What is the thermal transitions? Volume of a polymer can change with the temperature as first or second order transition. Tm first order thermal transition, Tg second order thermal transitions. What is the glass transition temperature? Tg stands for the hard to brittle soft rubbery material, and rigid glass state minus soft rubber state. It means conversion of a rigid glass state to a soft rubber state. 100 degrees centigrade to above 300 degrees centigrade process occur, and important in the solid dosage form. Tg of a polymer basically depend upon the many factors, just like length of polymer chains, side chain groups, polymer chain flexibility, polymer chain branching, polymer chain cross-linking, processing rate, and the plasticizers. What is the glass transition temperature? Crystalline first order and then amorphous second order, from glass to rubbery material, and from crystalline solid to melt state. There is some liquid over melting and temperature glassy transition and the rubbery state TGs. What is the glass temperature and the melting? There is a difference. Property of amorphous region and the below Tg disordered amorphous solid with the immobile molecules, and above Tg disordered amorphous solid in which portions of the molecular can wiggle around. A second order transition is called bolte hain. What is melting? Property of a crystalline region. Below Tm ordered crystalline solid and above Tm is disordered melt, and it's basically is a first order transition. What is the techniques of Tg measurement? TSC, refractive index, dynamic mechanical measurement, specific heat measurement, thermal, and इसके अलावा micro, isothermal, heat capacity, elastic modulus, hardness, broadline NMR. These are basically techniques. Improved process and handling qualities. Spray drying, first of all, non-sticky and the sticky products. Sticky products difficult to spray dry. Remain a syrup or stick on the dryer wall. Yes, के benefit and some disadvantage combined to form unwanted agglomerations in the dry chamber and conveying system. What is the molecular weight? Sugar present in such product, essentially sucrose, glucose, and fructose. And for bulk side, groups Tg जो है वो higher होता है. Here is glass transition in the spray drying. What is improved dissolution and the bioavailability? Indomethacin and the nifedipine are purely water soluble drugs हैं जो कि exist करती हैं dissolution में, rate limiting oral bioavailability. Both जो है वो glass solution में prepared होती हैं. Glass solution show करता है increased drug dissolution को. What is the viscoelastic properties? Neither a pure elastic nor a pure fluid material have ability to store energy and to dissipate it. Viscoelastic materials, just like EG and PVC, Creep test, polymer is first loaded with a certain weight and its deformation is then monitored over the time. Stress relaxation test, polymer first deformed to a certain extent and then its stress relaxed and monitored with the time. Time monitored. What is the creep test? Tensile specimen to which a constant stress is applied, often by the simple method of suspending weights from it, and the surrounding the specimen is a thermostatistically controlled furnace. Other things you are seeing in the picture. फिगर को आप अच्छी तरह से देखें तो आपको पता लग रहा होगा कि एक्सटेंशन जो स्पेसिमेन है वो हम मेजर कर रहे हैं सेंसिटिव एक्सटेंसोमीटर से एंड रिजल्ट्स ऑफ द टेस्ट एंड उसका ग्राफ जो है वो हम स्ट्रेन विद टाइम जो है उसको कर्व ऑब्टेन करते हैं. व्हाट इज द स्ट्रेस रिलैक्सेशन टेस्ट? Similarly, you can see here the sample creep properties with subject to a prolonged tensile of the compressive load at a constant temperature, rate of deformation of a sample to stress at a constant temperature is हम करते हैं creep test, or it is a slope created by the creep. If creep recovery is measured, then tests will determine the stress relaxation and the rate of a decrease in the deformation that take place when the load is removed. What is the mechanical properties? Polymer resist differently when they are stressed and can resist against the stretching, compression, bending, and sudden stress and the dynamic loading with increasing molecular weight polymers and the display superior properties under an applied stress, and the flexible polymers can perform better under the stretching, whereas the rigid polymer is better than under the compression. These are mechanical properties. In the graph, you can see against the stress and the strain different regions: slope, stiffness, failure point, non-elastic regions, elastic regions, yield point, and stress. What is the molecular weight? Average molecular weight fundamental characteristic होती है polymer की, control करती है function of a biomedical polymer को. Stupid. Pure sample contain molecular differing only in the degree of polymerization. Molecular weight जो है उसमें number average molecular weight, weight average molecular, इसके अलावा viscosity average molecular weight and Z average molecular weight ये हम find out करते हैं. First of all, number average molecular weight जो है ये आप I think पहले कर चुके हो. Weight average भी you are aware of it. Z average molecular weight also understood, and viscosity average molecular weight is new. It's from N1 M1 and N and M. यानी total जो आपकी strength होती है उसकी 1/x power होती है. What is the number average molecular weight? Number average molecular weight MN से represent करते हैं. It's basically statistical average molecular weight of all the polymer chains in the sample, and MN can be predicted by the polymerization mechanism measured by the methods that determine the number of molecules in a sample of a given weight. For example, colligative properties just like N group theory. What is the weight average molecular weight? Molecular weight of a chain basically determined होते हैं contributions to the average molecular weight के साथ, and the more massive the chain, the more the chain contributes to MW. और MW जो determine करते हैं methods से that are sensitive to the molecular size and rather than just their number. इसमें light scattering techniques जो हम use करते हैं. ये सारी techniques मैं आपको revise भी करवा रही हूँ. थोड़ा सा इसमें जो different material जो है वो थोड़ा सा new है. I think it's overview जो इसका totally changed है. That's why I'm revising here. What is the viscosity average molecular weight? You are understanding the class. Actually इस तरह से क्लास लेने में मुझे एक प्रॉब्लम ये भी होती है कि आप लोगों की बिल्कुल भी कंट्रीब्यूशन नहीं होती, तो मुझे ऐसा लगता है जैसे मैं लैपटॉप को पढ़ा रही हूँ. सो इफ़ यू वांट टू गो ऑनलाइन जूम के साथ ही अगर आप करना चाहते हैं तो आप अपनी टाइम पे जो है वो एक 1 वीक जो रहता है उसमें अपनी प्रेजेंटेशन में जो है वो डिस्कस कर सकते हैं जो टॉपिक रिमेनिंग है. ओके. Then viscosity average molecular weight of a polymer measure करते हैं by using the viscometer, and the molecular weight obtained by this technique जो है वो viscosity average molecular weight कहलाती है. और from the Mark-Hoving equation, these are basically molecular weight जो है वो viscosity के through KmV इस method से जो हम find out करते हैं. Now the average molecular weight can be found out. M2 especially sensitive with the presence of high molecular weight chains, and M2 may be determined directly with the sedimentation equilibrium, ultracentrifugation, and the light scattering. What is the technique differentiation? Determine the molecular weight. First of all, आपका जो membrane osmometry है, वो measuring parameter उसमें basically osmotic pressure of polymer solvent है, molecular weight measure होता है, उसमें MN हम measure कर सकते हैं. आपका polymer जो है 5 × 10⁴ gram per mole है. Secondly is the light scattering LS. ये chart बहुत important है. Intensity of a light scattered by the dilute polymer solution, MW MZ find out कर सकते हैं 10⁸ तक इसकी जो लिमिट है. Similarly, gel permission chromatography GPC, इसमें जो elution volume of a polymer solution through a GPC column packed होता है with porous microparticles, and M&W find out कर सकते हैं same पर लिमिट है. विस्कोमीट्री या विस्कोमीटर जिसको हम बोलते हैं उसमें फ्लो टाइम ऑफ पॉलीमर सॉल्यूशन होता है थ्रू अ कैपिलरी एंड एमवी इनटू 10^8 सेम इसकी जो है वो. What is the molecular weight? The molecular weight of a polymer can be determined by the number of physical and chemical properties, light scattering, gel permission, GPC, and the viscometry. लाइट स्कैटरिंग में क्या होता है, लाइन स्कैटरिंग होती है. एडिशनल स्कैटरिंग शो जो होती है वो बेसिकली सोल्यूट मॉलिक्यूल्स की वजह से होती है. इसमें कंसंट्रेशन एज वेल एज द साइज एंड द शेप, एंड बाय मेजरिंग द डिफरेंसेस इन द इंटेंसिटी ऑफ अ स्कैटरिंग लाइट, एवरेज साइज ऑफ अ पॉलीमर सोल्यूट एंड देयर मॉलिक्यूलर वेट जो उसमें डिटरमिन करते हैं. हियर इज अ लाइट स्कैटरिंग. Similarly, gel permission chromatography, there is a gel permission chromatography in which you can see here the larger molecule and the smaller molecule stay inside the gel and the larger molecule outside. Here is a viscometry equation which already taught before, and here is a viscometer. Viscosity is equal to kpt. K viscometer constant है, density है और flow time है, and through this you can find out vibration spectroscopy, infrared, and the Raman spectroscopy. Delta is equal to h mu के through frequency के through हम इसको find out करते हैं. इसमें spectral transitions जो detect करती हैं scanning को through the entire IR frequency. Where is the vibrational spectroscopy? IR or Raman spectroscopy. Energies of the molecular velocities of interest for the analytical work mostly correspond to a wavelength in the wave of 2.5 to 25 micrometer, and result with the identification of a functional group and mode of their attachment to the polymer backbone. Characterization of the polymer की molecular and the material structures होते हैं, e.g. determination of a level of amine group in the cytosine. Where is the vibrational spectroscopy? Infrared and the Raman spectroscopy. Here is some results of polyethylene, polypropylene, polystyrene, and some other chemicals. Whereas the Raman spectroscopy detects the inelastic scattering of a photon by molecule, provide a fingerprint by the which molecule can be identified, used to observe the vibrational, rotational, and the other low frequency modes, and laser light interact with the molecular vibration and the shift in energy, give the information about the vibrational modes in the system. Similarly, Raman spectroscopy stroke shift is also I'm getting a scheme for the Raman spectroscopy. You see in the figure how Raman spectroscopy work. Here is the extension of monochromatic light, here is elastic scattering light, diffraction grating, and then mirror, and then software and the Raman spectrogram. This is the Raman spectroscopy of the different elements, and you can say polymers. What is the NMR spectroscopy? Microstructure and chain configuration of a polymers both in the solution and in the solid form, identification of a certain atom or ion in a polymer molecule as well as their positions relative to each other can be obtained by one, and when a strong external magnetic field is applied to the material containing nuclei position property of a spin, and that behave like the bar magnet and orientation themselves in the two energy states, a low energy and a high energy. What is the NMR resonance spectroscopy? Transition of a nucleus from one energy state to other occurs if a discrete amount of energy is observed from an electromagnetic radiation, and if the resonance energy of all the nuclei of the same type in the molecular identical, then peak जो है वो आपकी observe होगी. This is NMR resonance. What is the microscopy? Whenever a characteristic of a polymer material ultrastructures होते हैं used to examine the detailed shape, size, and the distribution, polymeric micro and the nanoparticles and their interactions with the biological environment. इसमें हम SEM, SPM use करते हैं, optical microscopy, optical SEM, scanning electron microscopy, transmission electron microscopy, and similarly other techniques in which microscopy techniques basically related to the microscope. Then thermal analysis, DSC, DG, and DMA, dynamic mechanical analysis, thermal calorimetry, and the differential scanning calorimetry. Calorimeter basically क्या होता है, used to identify the characteristic both polymer and the drug-loaded polymer delivery system. It's also research properties. In the research, they can be used. In the DSC, polymer undergo a phase transition, temperature tend to remain constant, while energy is taken and the system differentiate between the energy required or released as a function of a temperature or the time while subject to a controlled temperature. And you can say rise in the temperature, which is glass transition temperature TG, melting at temperature TM, degradation or decomposition temperature TD. Here is thermal gravimetry apparatus. This is dynamic mechanical analysis. Viscometer used, X-rays diffraction, wide X-rays scattering, and the small angle X-ray scattering. Two are used Vexels distance from the sample to detector जो short होते हैं, diffraction maximum में at the larger angles which are observed, degree of crystallinity of the polymer samples, and a sample is scanned in a wide angle, and similarly crystalline solid consists of regular spaces, atoms, electrons that can be distinguished from the imaginary planes. Distance between these planes is called as the d-spacing. There is a mechanical and rheological analysis, reflection of a polymer's molecular properties, which are carried out in establishing of a polymer is fit for purpose, tensile properties. Solid polymers can be characteristics by the deformation behavior, rubbery polymer, lower modulus of a stiffness, and glass and the semi-crystalline polymers, higher modularity and the lower extensivity. इसके अलावा used to obtain the information related to the flow behavior of a polymer melts and the polymer solution, capillary and the rotational rheometers, polymer fluids, viscoelasticity. These are the basically properties. What is the conclusion? Polymer materials used होते हैं for the administration of a pharmaceutical and play an important role in the fabrication of a various control releasing and the drug targeting system. इसके अलावा use होते हैं polymer for the drug delivery, considering the polymer functional properties, important होते हैं adequate polymer characteristics में. Many methods are available होते हैं for the characteristics of polymer. And for the reference, you can take any book and you can. Okay, now question is that कि आप जो है इसमें से कोई सी 3 जो है properties मुझे जो है वो अपने अटेंडेंस के साथ जो है वो नोट करें जो आपको जो है वो सही तरीके से अच्छी तरह से अंडरस्टैंड हुई है. ओके स्टूडेंट्स, थैंक यू वेरी मच. अल्लाह हाफिज़.